Okay, so it's week 6 of the mental training program. As crazy as that sounds, we are over halfway through until we go outside and start practicing golf. So first and foremost, for the people that came to the sessions last night, on the whole, very, very, very well done. Everyone was engaged. Everyone is learning the theories that we're teaching. Many of you are understanding it. And this session was all about the practical application. So if you want to be happy, if you want to be successful, if you want to move towards your goals, having knowledge on how to do this is one thing. But then the practical application of that knowledge, of all the stuff you're learning, what are you going to take and how are you going to apply it into your life or your golf to make you happier or a more high performing individual? So the critical thing that we did in this session was we reviewed everything that we've learned so far. So we went through it week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. And every student picked out something that they learned in week 1 and how they were going to apply that. So what we're doing is we're reviewing and we're reflecting on what we've learned, but then we're choosing what we're going to apply into our lives or into our goals. And that's very important. If you can spend some time reflecting and then really thinking and focusing on the practical application, how am I going to apply this? That is a great trait that will lay foundations for you to be successful. I've met a lot of people who do a lot of reading. They have a lot of knowledge, but they never seem to apply anything. And if they don't, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So the last thing I want for all of Team KOHR is for you to get all of this great information, but then just leave it as information, just leave it as knowledge. You need to understand how you can apply this to shape your behaviors, to shape your thinking, to shape your habits, so you can become a little more effective. So I'll share my screen. Okay, week 1. Can anyone remember what we studied in week 1? Write it in the chat, please, if you can remember what we studied in week 1. Here's a clue. Anyone? 10 seconds. Okay. So PCDEs, psychological characteristics for developing excellence. These were the 9 building blocks. These were the 9 building blocks that are fundamental to everyone on this Zoom call, everyone at KOHR, every coach at KOHR, every person at KOHR, every parent. These 9 building blocks are the foundation of excellence. If you can do these 9 things over time, build them up over time, you're more likely to achieve psychological tools, to create psychological tools that will help you be happy and higher performing. So that's what we looked at in week 1. Can anyone remember any of the 9 building blocks? Someone give me one of the 9 building blocks, please, in the chat. Where's my chat bar gone? I'm not seeing it lighting up. So I'm not going to move on until someone gets one of these 9 building blocks. Okay, we have 1. Coping with pressure, ability, self-awareness. Okay, awesome. Great job. So let's take the first one. Okay. So coping with pressure. Awesome. Now, the practical way What's the practical strategy that we can apply into our life or into our golf to help us cope with pressure? We don't just want to keep it as knowledge. Okay. So what tools do we have to help us cope with pressure? Okay, awesome. There's well done. Breath work, good. Visualization, imagery, awesome. Great job. Yes, negative imagery. Visualizing yourself during stress, during pressure, visualizing things potentially going wrong and how you're going to respond to them. So all of those answers are right. Now, I want to do this with everybody because I'm a big believer in ChatGPT and its powers. I've used it a lot and it's very accurate. It's a fantastic mental game coach. And unlike some of your teachers, I believe you should be encouraged to use ChatGPT. So how can I deal with, Braden, can you see the screen, right? Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So the great thing about ChatGPT is when you've asked it a question, you can ask it another question. So then it's putting it specifically into a golf context for you. And some of these you'll have seen: practicing mindfulness techniques, self-care, adopt a positive mindset, time management. Some of these we've talked about in sessions. So I'm there. I want you to know, if I'm not there or Coach Brandon's not there, and you have the knowledge, you understand what you're trying to do, but maybe you need help practically applying it. ChatGPT is not a bad place to go and ask questions. Just make sure when you ask questions, you ask further questions and critically analyze. So that was awesome. So week 1, 9 building blocks, coping with pressure. We had breath work and imagery. Now, again, don't just know the answers to these. Please make sure at certain times of the day, twice a day, 2 minutes a day, you're doing some breath work. When you go to bed at night, put your phone away, visualize yourself dealing with pressure. How are you going to walk? How are you going to talk? How are you going to breathe? That is the practical application of what we're teaching. And the ones that shoot the lowest scores, the ones that achieve the most success, the ones that reach their full potential, the ones that are the happiest on this journey will be the ones that are doing this, the practical application. Okay, awesome. Week 2. Can anyone guess what we did in week 2? Can anyone remember? Dealing with adversity. So in week 2, we discussed the number one factor that was going to help us be successful in life is the ability to deal with adversity. Everybody at some point is going to face it. And it's how we come out of it that will determine our level of fulfillment and our level of happiness. And as Coach Brandon said on the previous chat, the practical way I like to teach people to deal with adversity is through imagery. So when you're under pressure, when you're under stress, when you get some bad news, when things go against you, how are you going to walk? How are you going to talk to yourself? What we call self-talk. And how are you going to breathe? So you're going into an exam. How are you going to walk? How are you going to talk? How are you going to breathe? Take some time to picture that every day. You're walking to the first tee. It's your first tournament. You're very nervous. How are you going to walk? How are you going to talk? How are you going to breathe? You're 6 under par. You make a double bogey. How are you going to walk? How are you going to talk? How are you going to breathe? You miss a 3-foot putt on the last hole to win a tournament. How are you going to respond to that? How are you going to walk? How are you going to talk? How are you going to breathe? Okay, you get rejected from college. You get a letter. It's upsetting. For the rest of the day, how are you going to walk? How are you going to talk? How are you going to breathe? Okay. Week 3 and week 4, we did goal setting. So, question for the chat. What was the difference between week 3 and week 4? Anyone in the chat, what was the difference between the 2 goal setting tasks or techniques that or frameworks that we highlighted? Short term versus long term. Well done, Taylor. So, week 3, it was more short to middle term golfing goals. So we looked at outcome, performance, and process. Okay. Now, again, some of you may have a tournament coming up. Have you written down, if you have a tournament coming up, have you written down one outcome goal? Have you written down to match that outcome goal, maybe 2 performance metrics that you're trying to practice in training? Have you 4 process goals ready for the tournament that are going to help you? Have you done that? So think about that. If you're playing in a tournament in the next few weeks, what outcome do you want? I want to come in the top 5. In practice, I need to be working on club head speed. It's currently 95 miles an hour. I want it to be 99 miles an hour when I go to the tournament. And I need on the wedge combine, my highest score is 62. I want it to be 70. And then you can track those 2 metrics. And if they're moving in the right direction, you know that that's going to support the outcome. And then process goals, negative visualization, breathing exercises, using your core portal to reflect on practice. That could be your process goals. So again, guys, that's the practical application. I cannot stress this enough. Core golf is not wanting to fill you with knowledge. It's wanting to help you create habits of excellence. You have to apply this into your daily life. Some of you have got habits that you probably want to reduce. PlayStation, phone, oversleeping, whatever it might be. Some of you will have habits that you want to replace. Netflix. Try and replace those habits with some of these things we're talking about. Okay, great. What did we do in week 4? What did we identify in this goal setting? So Raj, you were correct, short-term, long-term. Taylor, you were correct, short-term, long-term. But in week 4, we identified outcome. Well done, KOHR. Outcome, process, and motivation. We gave them other titles. What, how, and why. And this framework was more for your huge goal, right? So I want to be the CEO of Morgan Stanley. I want to run my own law firm. I want to play on the PGA Tour. I want to be a Hollywood actor. I want to be a teacher, and then I want to be the head of that school. I want to be the principal of that school. Your big goals, your big dreams. What, how, and why. And we focused in on the motivation. What goal gives you the outcome? How goal give you the process, which we've covered above. This time we focused in on motivation. Can anyone remember the 3 different kinds of motivation? In the chat, please, if you can. Well done. Internal. Okay, Tucker put money. So in some respects, external. Good. Good, Tucker. So family is internal, money is external. Good. And then we add, which no one has it called, 0. So the critical thing here, 0 motivation, we didn't have to worry about because everyone at KOHR has some level of motivation. External motivation, doing it for proof from others, doing it for rewards, doing it for Instagram likes. That motivation is fine, and that motivation works, and that motivation will take you towards your goals. But in adversity, internal motivation, what's inside you, the love of the game, the pride, a deeper meaning, a deeper purpose, a deeper reason for doing it. Those things will carry you through adversity more so than external motivation. At some point during adversity, external motivation, you're likely to give up. Internal motivation, that candle burns brighter and can keep you going. And if you remember the story we focused in on for that was the Inky Johnson story. So practical application here. What could practical application be, anyone? That's great knowledge. And if you understand that, that's fantastic to have such depth to your knowledge in your teenage years. But how can that influence your behaviors? Anyone in the chat can give me an idea. So let me, if not, I'll give you a couple more. Anybody? Okay. So what we can do is when we set our goals, we can create what's called a vision board. So outcome, I want to work on Wall Street. So I might have a big picture of Wall Street. The process to get there, I might have a picture of an Ivy League college. I might have a picture of a clock that represents time management. I might have a picture of healthy food. I got to keep my body healthy if I want to do well. I might have a picture of the gym. I'm going to go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. And then I might have a picture of, let's say, a question mark. And that might be to represent, I'm going to find myself a mentor, or I'm going to get myself an internship. And then my motivation, what's my motivation? Well, then I might have a picture of some people that in a different part of the country that I might support financially, that I might give money to as part of a charity, that I might donate to. I might have a big smiley face because I love golf so much that I'm going to travel the world with some of this money, and I'm going to play Augusta, and I'm going to play Friars Head, and I'm going to play these golf courses because I love golf. That's going to make me smile, and I love to travel. So when you set your goals, You want to be very aware that, yes, you want to set the outcome. Yes, you want to build some processes, but also what motivates you. Put pen to paper on that and even turn them into pictures. You could even turn those into pictures. And I do this every year. You can see my vision board in the coach's office. And I'm happy to share that with people if they would like me to. Okay, week 5. So I am going to do the synopsis on this one because someone in the class just gave an awesome example. We talked about being happy. And we looked at 2 things. First, everyone in KOHR spoke about what makes them happy. And then we looked at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then we looked at the happiness advantage. The happiness advantage gave us a few things that we can apply to make us happier, more productive. They were exercise. There it was journaling. It was random acts of kindness. It was gratitude. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and meditation. Meditation. So again, if we look at this, oops, this is the practical application of what we're talking about. Okay, so do you get up in the morning and spend 3 minutes thinking about everything you're grateful for? Do you do any meditations? Are you exercising? Are you journaling about your day? Are you doing random acts of kindness? These are all scientifically proven to help you be more positive and to help you move towards being more productive and being happier. Now, someone in the class, I believe it was Franny, she actually talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if you can think of the pyramid and its 5 layers, the bottom layer was the ability to breathe, have water, have food. So basic needs. And what Franny said was, which I thought was awesome, the practical application that's come from understanding this is perspective and self-talk. She mentioned that understanding that these basic needs are always met. We can have an attitude of being more grateful. Understanding that some people don't have these basic needs met can give us perspective. And that can really change the way that we communicate with ourselves, the way that we talk to our brain. So I thought that was a very, very, very powerful thing that she raised. And I wanted to share that. So that is the review. Yes, absolutely, Brandon. Self-awareness. See, and all of these, to Brandon's point, all of these, every piece of practical application that we've done by design, link back to this. All of it comes back to these 9 building blocks. Every single thing that you can practically apply is going to strengthen one of these 9 building blocks. Okay, so that was everything that we discussed. And again, just to stress, absolute practical application. The practical application is the key. And if ever you're struggling with the practical application, you have an understanding in your mind, oh, I want to set some goals, but I can't quite remember performance, process, outcome. Or I have a golf tournament and I haven't been doing my breathing exercises. What's the best way to do that breath work? If you can't get hold of a coach, I promise you, you can use ChatGPT and it gives you very, very, very good answers. I'm still to have a terrible answer from it. So that's the end of today's session. But again, let's have a look. What are the best ways to use breathing to relax? So that's the end of today's session. But if you want, if you have a question for ChatGPT, I'll hang around. I'll ask it the question. You can see what it brings up. But again, just as we're watching this on the screen now, you can see this is all the things that we teach you guys. So we actually had a lot of fun interacting with ChatGPT, asking it questions, challenging it. We asked it if it was a better mental coach than me, and it said potentially, but maybe not, because it's a robot and doesn't have personal relationships, which I appreciated. I would say it's a very good mental coach. All of this information that it's spitting out is very, very useful. And I would encourage you guys to do some self-exploration, get the information, critically analyze it, ask it deeper questions, and see what you come up with. So that's the end of the session for today. But if anyone wants to ask ChatGPT a question, put it in the chat and I'll fire it in there. If not, have a great week. And remember, start practically applying this stuff that we are teaching you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.